Salut à toi et bienvenue dans cette nouvelle vidéo qui a le pouvoir, je m'avance un petit peu mais c'est réel, de potentiellement changer ta vie et notamment ton business. C'est une partie d'une interview qui a été donnée par Hormozi dans lequel il révèle ses secrets de comment il est devenu multimillionnaire en vendant ses prestations en ligne. Et ces secrets ont le pouvoir, si tu les intègres, de littéralement propulser tes ventes, propulser ton chiffre d'affaires et propulser ton business. Avant de rentrer dans cette interview, assure-toi d'une chose, c'est que si tu es entrepreneur, si tu veux développer ton activité, faire plus de ventes, gagner plus d'argent et être beaucoup plus libre grâce à ton business, c'est simplement de t'abonner à la chaîne pour recevoir chaque semaine de nouvelles vidéos concernant le business, l'entrepreneuriat et le développement personnel. Je te dis à très vite, bye bye.
Sales, influence, impact, persuasion, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So many businesses, no matter if you're 2 employees, 200, 2,000, 5,000 a year to 50 million a year.
Yeah.
Every company needs focus, exponential growth, shifting, evolution, innovation in their marketing and sales. Mm-hmm. But so many startups and people launching their business, not only they could be apprehensive to sales. They could be, I feel we are in an era where sales is considered bad, when simultaneously it is the oxygen for every successful business that exists. I have fallen in love with selling because of impact and have converted it to service. In your life, your evolution of sales, what has been the biggest lift? How have you fallen in love with sales? You're amazing at what you do. You provide an incredible product in everything you do. What drives you and what could drive others to fall in love with sales through your lens?
So I see sales as helping the person you're speaking to realize that they are in power. And the three things, like if we the more you sell, the more you hear the same excuses, right? And so in a lot of ways, selling is the first conversation to helping someone make decisions to help themselves. And so there are three major buckets that people use to blame, right? We said earlier about where the finger of blame goes, so does the power. And so the widest area of this is, think about it like an onion, all right? This is the best analogy I can give. The outer layer is circumstances. So they're gonna blame money, they're going to blame time, they're going to blame some particular aspect of the thing that they're buying that's not perfect for them, whatever it is, right? But that's the first layer.
Yeah.
Underneath of that, they're going to blame other people. They're going to blame their partner, their spouse, their kids, their wife, their coworker, their whatever, right? That's the second layer. And then the final layer is that you have somebody. So if I make you realize, like, okay, well, the difference between self-made millionaires and you is that you both started at zero. So what's the difference? They decided to do something, right? All of a sudden, you can start breaking down each of these beliefs. And with other people, it's like, I'll give you a common one. It's like my spouse, right? My spouse won't let me do this. And it's like, okay, well, let's play it out. Well, if every time you want to make these decisions that are going to help yourself, and every time your spouse says no, 3 years from now, I was like, how are you guys going to feel? So like, you probably resent your spouse because they've held you back this whole time. Yeah. And so what happens is you're actually giving your spouse the responsibility over your success in life. That's not fair to them.
It's not fair to them.
Not fair to your marriage.
Yeah.
And I was like, so you're literally, you're planting the seeds right now for a resentment tree to grow later. And so what I think you want is you're thinking you need permission, but what you actually need is support.
Yeah, you're peeling. I love those two layers. And what's the center piece?
The center layer is avoidance. So now you're talking to a person in power. So it's like, okay, it's not the time, it's not the money, it's
not someone else.
It's not other people. What they try and then do is like, I'm going to think about it. I'm not sure, right? It's avoidance. Now, we could get into like, is it shame? Is it fear? Is it self-doubt? Like whatever it is. All I know is that they avoid the decision. That I can observe. They avoid the decision. They just try. And so at this point, we then, at least if I'm trying to sell something to someone or trying to help someone make a decision, I help them make the decision, which is, well, what would it take in order for you to feel good about this? And at what point is it unreasonable for you to not believe that this would work? And so this is a simple, like, for example, if I had, it's because I sold a zillion gym memberships back in my day.
Yeah.
If someone's like, well, I'm just not, I need to think about it. I'm like, cool. Well, what are the main things that you use to make the decision? And the reality is that you think you need that, right? You think you need time. But what you really want is information. And so we conflate time for information. So if I have more time, I must get more information. I was like, but I'm your only source of information. I was like, so what's your main concern?
And let me give you that information.
Right. And sometimes you just ask like, and like, there's a lot of different ways of asking the same thing, but just saying like, what's the thing you don't want to have happen if you do this? What are you afraid of having happen?
Wow, so good.
And a lot of times it just pierces right to the point where like, I just don't want to buy another thing and have my husband yell at me.
Right.
And you're like,
real piece.
Right. And then you're like, I got it. I feel you. I was like, so what if we do this? And like, and then you can, now you actually
adjust and have a real conversation.
Exactly. Now we're not smoke screening. We're actually getting to the real stuff. And the thing is that if you have like, I love this quote. I don't remember where I heard it, but it was closers ask hard questions. Right. And so most people hate sales because they were not sold well. Like true sales doesn't feel like sales. It just feels like making an informed decision with somebody who is an expert who helps you make the best decision for you.
Yeah.
And you know what? And this is what I train all the salespeople to do. I was like, my goal is that you help the person that you're speaking to decide, not that they buy.
Make a decision. Even if the decision is absolutely no, they made a decision.
Yes. And they walk out, right? Not the miserable maybe, right?
Yeah, miserable maybe.
Right.
Write that one down.
Right? Another year of almost, right? Who wants that? And so it's like and this is, again, I've trained a lot of sales teams and whatnot. And so I'm like, you have to train for no. You have to expect no. And this really comes with anything in life, is that like, if every person you just said, hey, you want to buy the thing? And they said yes, I was like, then you're not required. We could just put up a page, and people would just go on Amazon and click buy, right? And so we have to expect that the people who are coming to us, and I train a lot of weight loss sales teams, if they could do it on their own, they wouldn't be here.
Right.
So we have to expect that they're going to have some demons in the closet that we got to help. We like, think about it like this. You're side by side with them. You've got a sword and they don't. And they're like, the monsters are in here. And you're like, all right, let's open the doors. Right. And like, that's the role of the salesman, is like, you can kill these demons in front of them. Be like, it's not your husband's responsibility. Right. It's not the fact that you don't have time, because I can promise you there's someone who's had it worse who's done better.
Yeah.
Right. And so you can have those real conversations. And so for me, that's where I get passionate about it, because I think real sales.
In real sales is service. I mean, you're serving that person, because if it's a gym membership, they've been putting off getting themselves in shape forever. And if you quit before you get to the root cause, the peeling back the onion to get to the avoidance, the avoidance leads to the root cause of why they're not going to the gym. If as a salesperson, you got to solve that and they were in the gym, then you did good for the world by selling. And in every business that I've been a part of, every business I consult with, if that sales is service mindset doesn't exist, if it's just, what is the average ticket? How much are we getting? What is that lead worth? I know that company's not going to make it. But when you know this, because you're buying companies faster than anyone I've ever seen, when you go into a place where they're heart-centered and service-oriented, and they have an amazing sales floor to get people to take the action that changes their lives, that's a company I put money in.
So I'm going to give you guys like the secret, like the real, like the key ingredient to making this work. And it's not like some words. It's not. Because the thing is that humans are exceptionally good at smelling out when someone's lying. We have thousands of years of evolution to see if someone's going to trick you and then, steal your food or whatever it is. Like, we're actually really good at intuitively, like, you don't know if someone's lying, but you're like, I just feel off about it. Right. And so there's one thing that I know. Well, there's two things that can fix it. One is years and years of training, of trying to fix your tonality, pausing at the right time, speaking fast if I really want to get someone really excited, or slowing down so that you really pay attention to what I'm saying right now, right? Like, you can shift how you're feeling. Like, pros can do that because they've trained for it. But if you're a beginner, there's one thing that's even more powerful than that, which is just, you just believe in it. And so here's my example for you. Have you ever bought something that you were like, this is amazing? Right. And when you go to your aunt, you're like, you got to try these shoes on. They're so, or like, I got this new thing that covers. And the thing is the way you talk about it, that's what gives you conviction. And I'll ask a question that might, trigger some people. But if you've ever met somebody who found a new religion, right, and they're like on fire about the religion, if they say it enough, sometimes the person who believes more, you're like, maybe I'm wrong about this, depending on how convicted they are. And so the thing that will fix your tone, will fix the things that you will say, is actually believing in the product. And so we see this with sales teams, and I can tell you I can fix a sales team rather than training them on drilling obstacle overcomes and things like that by simply saying, what's happened in the last 7 days, 14 days, 30 days that made you believe in this less? and solving for that. And sometimes there's a legitimate problem with a product or a service, and it's like, we're on it. And then we start giving them updates every day of the things that we're doing to solve the problem that they brought up.
So
right?
Good.
And so it's like, we're just fixing the act, like we're getting to the heart of it.
So you can fall in love with what you're selling.
Right, because if you don't believe in it, you know what? You shouldn't sell it. That's the real. Like if you don't believe in it, you shouldn't sell it. And the problem is so many people sell things they don't believe in to make a paycheck. And that's why
where sales get a bad name.
Exactly.
Yeah. So when people, it's funny. I love listening. I love being a student, and I love hearing this. When people say to me, "How did you guys do the biggest launch? How are you so good at sales?" What I always say is, because I love what I do so much that I feel bad if they don't get it.
Yeah.
And people are always looking. People are saying, "Give me the secret to sell." Like just what you said. Is it the slow down? Is it the speed up?
Yeah.
I've never studied any of that.
Right.
I've just fallen in love. You know, again, back to Og Mandino's book, The World's Greatest Salesman. His second, the most important one is, I will meet this day with love. Yeah. And he said, they might not like my clothes. They might not even like my product. They might not like my voice, my complexion. But if I'm in my head saying, I love you, I know it sounds a little hokey, but if they're saying, I love you, there's no way they could say no to me. Because if you meet this day with love, if you don't just love your product, don't just love the success of your company, you actually love the person you're serving, you wouldn't sell them something that sucks, but you also wouldn't do them the disservice of them not having it, right? If you fall in love with a movie, you want everybody you love to go see it. You fall in love with going vegan, you are praising from the roof, my arthritis went away, I feel better, go vegan, right? When you love a product or a service or the company you're launching or the coaching program you're not selling, you're feeling bad by not persuading someone to take that action. And when I see that passion in someone or a company, I know where they're going.
The number one salesman for like the last 5 years at my old company, you could listen to his sales calls and he was unbelievably persistent, but it wasn't in a pushy or coercive way. I would watch these sales calls and someone would be on like their sixth no. And he would take his glasses off and he'd rub his face and he's like, Pete, I'm not giving up on you, man. He's like, you said that you're struggling to pay your mortgage right now. And like, I know because I have all of this proof behind me that like, there's something that's stopping you emotionally from doing this. Like, let's work on this together. Let's figure this out.
Decision.
Right? Exactly. And so the thing is I love saying this is that it's not, sales is a dance, not a fight. Right? You're just working with the person. And the thing is, and if you're ever selling a physical environment, you always want to be on the same side of the table because it really signals what the relationship should be, which is we're on the same side of the table here. I'm trying to help you make a good decision. And you know what? And this is the thing about having integrity as a salesperson is that if you find out while you're talking to them that it's not a good fit, then you will sell so much better if you let a couple people go that you know it's not going to be a good fit for, because then you know why you're doing it. Because then you have more conviction in yourself that it's not that I just sell every person with a heartbeat. I sell the people that I think really need this thing. And some people might not need this thing because they have a different demon they got to slay. And you know what? Then make them a recommendation because you do care about them rather than the sale.
Yeah.
So conviction over commission. Like that's the...
And that's at the end of the day, it boils back to that love thing, that service thing, that caring thing. And it is the unfair advantage to sales. Like I love hearing your perspective. You're so good at sales. Alex, I've watched you train it. I've watched you train it. I watch you talk about it, but it always starts with that caring. Yeah. And I've never met anybody consistent. Listen, I can see someone who's got a business doing $1 million a year. And when I watch them, and I'm not saying $1 million a year is bad, please. I'm not. $1 million a year is amazing, but they want to go to 10. Yeah. And I could tell the way they sell. Yeah. I could tell what they've rehearsed. Yeah. They don't believe in what they're doing. And in my head, I know you will never pass that. There's no way beyond where you are unless you change how you feel.
If you sell someone and then think, gotcha.
Yeah,
you're not going to make it. Yeah, you're not going to make, because what happens is, one, you'll foster a whole army of people who hate you. But secondly, like if you have any ethics at all, which most people do, I actually think a lot more people have ethics than other people give credit for, it starts to eat at you. And Dean and I have been doing this business game enough to see, we've seen people bottle rocket their way up and then fizzle, bottle rocket up and then fizzle. They create another new product every 12 weeks because
and if it's crypto, they got a crypto program. If it's AI, there's a new AI program. Rather than going deep, falling in love and actually making transformations.
J'espère sincèrement que cette vidéo t'aura plu et que tu auras compris les principes essentiel de la vente, c'est de mettre l'accent sur la confiance et la conviction que notre produit est la meilleure solution pour changer la vie de nos clients, car la vente, ce n'est pas simplement une discussion, c'est une danse, et qu'en maîtrisant cet art de vendre, en maîtrisant l'art d'échanger et de comprendre les besoins de la personne en face de nous, on peut littéralement propulser son business. N'hésite pas à partager cette vidéo à un entrepreneur ou quelqu'un de ton entourage qui doit absolument le voir, éventuellement des personnes qui travaillent avec toi ou des groupes d'entrepreneurs auxquels tu participes. Pour terminer, j'adorerais pouvoir voir dans les commentaires quel est le truc que tu retiens et qui va toi, personnellement, t'aider pour ton business. Bref, hâte de te lire dans les commentaires et je t'ai également glissé le lien d'une nouvelle vidéo que tu peux également aller regarder car je crois qu'elle peut t'intéresser. Je te dis à très vite. Ciao, ciao.